The computer repairman who handed over Hunter Biden's laptop to the FBI is now speaking out against what he calls the biased FBI after the unprecedented raid at former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. That repairman, John Paul Mac-Isaac, joins me now. John Paul, good morning to you. It's great to see you again. What are your thoughts on this raid that took place at former President Trump's home as Hunter Biden heads off to summer vacation?
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show. I think it's a blatant double standard. My family and I have witnessed the bias in the FBI going back as far as October of 2019, when they refused to touch the Hunter Biden laptop with a 10-foot pole until finally in December they came and they took it. And even then they seemed to be reluctant. Then we saw them ignore the laptop during the impeachment trial. So the FBI never provided that information to the White House. So, and then how I was handled, you know, a whistleblower on the left gets anonymity and gets to have their person remain intact, while I blow a whistle and I have to flee the state with death threats.
Yeah, well,
I've definitely witnessed a double standard here.
Yeah, and speaking of whistleblowers, there was an FBI whistleblower who told Chuck Grassley that after you handed the laptop over to the FBI, there were FBI agents that called it Russian disinformation, possibly in an attempt to cover for Joe Biden ahead of the presidential election. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm excited that we're finally getting some clarity onto who started this whole Russian disinformation bit. I guess the Brian Auten was in August, decided to label my actions Russian disinformation. I'm curious to see if he did that before or after about the 24th of August, because it was the 24th of August I reached out to Rudy Giuliani's office. So if they started labeling that disinformation after I got in contact with Rudy Giuliani, that means the FBI was spying on the lawyer of the President of the United States. If they were labeling it Russian disinformation before that, then that means they were only spying on me.
Well, we now know that as Vice President, Joe Biden did meet with many of Hunter Biden's foreign business associates. He even met with 2 Chinese energy executives at the White House. Do you think that his involvement in his son's business has any impact on the decisions he's making now? Because that is the big concern.
I'm not surprised that the Chinese government probably has a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop. I mean, he was very careless with his electronic devices. So whether they're using that as leverage over the Biden administration, it's really hard to tell. It just seems like, you know, between lithium mines in Afghanistan and how we've handled Taiwan, it just seems like we're going soft on China. And it begs the question, is it because they know something we don't? Are they holding something over the Bidens? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and you say you saw a lot of porn and drugs on that laptop, as have we all now, by the way. You never really cared about any of that. What you were really concerned about was everything that had to do with Hunter Biden's business. And I've always wondered, what was the one thing, whether it was a text or email conversation that you saw that made you realize that what you were looking at wasn't totally above board? Bring us back to that moment.
Well, I think when I saw how Hunter and Devin approached the conflict in the Ukraine back in 2014, they saw it as a money-making opportunity. They saw a lot of money pouring into the Ukraine, a lot of lack of oversight to that money, and then they saw a lot of rich oligarchs that were trying to embezzle that money, and they wanted to find a way to use the State Department and the power of the vice president to protect that money for these rich oligarchs in exchange for a kickback. And it begs the question. It's like this: we're witnessing the same thing happen today in the Ukraine, and it's the same players. So I'm obviously upset for the Ukrainian people because they've had to endure communist rule and then now 30 years of oligarch rule. But it's just a shame that we're witnessing history repeat.
Yeah. Well, getting back to the raid, you say that if the FBI were doing their job right, they would have already raided Hunter's home and arrested him based on what was found on the laptop. What do you mean by that?
Well, last I checked, doing drugs is bad, and sex trafficking across multiple state lines is bad. There's been a plethora of criminal activity that has come off that laptop, and the FBI has been in possession of that laptop since December 9th, 2019. And the son of the President of the United States continues to wave from the balcony of the White House. He continues to fly on Air Force One. He's beyond reproach.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi said that not everybody's above the law. Well, apparently there are people above the law, and I think that if your last name's Biden or even Pelosi, I think you get afforded that opportunity.
And John Paul, the thing that strikes me is that so many people just feel like this raid was politically motivated. And we don't know whether or not that's true because the FBI hasn't come out and said exactly what's going on here. But the fact that this doesn't come as a surprise to people is really concerning.
Yeah, I thought it was going to happen a lot sooner. I thought there would be this typical socialist movement. When a party takes over, they go after their political enemies to snuff them out, to make sure. That's why I left Delaware, because it was heating up. I was getting death threats. I was getting threats to my person and my property, and I had to get out of town. So I was just surprised that it took them this long to try to take out one of their political adversaries.
Yeah.
It's a banana republic.
Well,
it's clown world.
Really quickly, before we let you go, you have filed a defamation lawsuit after you were accused of spreading Russian disinformation. Just really quickly, give us an update on where that stands.
Well, right now I am completely grateful to the America Project for giving me the opportunity to throw my hat into the legal battles again. I never thought I'd have an opportunity to defend my actions and hold those accountable in a court of law. The lawsuit's growing. I think my focus right now is to work with members of Congress, work with Johnson's office and Grassley's office. Let's hold the FBI accountable. If holding these people accountable in a court of law is what I have to do, then I will do that. And we're broadening our net right now. And then obviously it's up to Congress in November and to win, and then in January to start holding these people accountable.
Well, your life has been turned upside down, and now you're moving forward. John Paul Mac-Isaac, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Vous n'avez pas entendu parler du Facteur?
Les nouvelles du Facteur